Hey guys, it's Hannah from Bookwormstalk, and this is Right About Now Poetry, and today I'm going to review a chapbook of poetry by Austyn Degelman called Along Came a Swarm. But what I do is I review books, and I review chapbooks of poetry. Also, I have a channel where that's strictly what I do, is a bunch of book reviews. And so Right About Now Poetry and I kind of decided that it would be a really cool idea if I reviewed poetry on their channel. And so I'm gonna pop in every now and then once a month and I'm going to review a chapbook of poetry for you. So what I do with my book reviews is I give a non-spoiler section in the beginning and a brief synopsis of what the book or collection of poetry is about. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that today as well. I'm going to give you my overall opinions on the book, and then I'm gonna pick out a couple of my favorite pieces and then I'm gonna read little blurbs from them. And I'm going to also give a short bio of the author, the poet, and you get to hear about them and where you can find their collections of poetry and where you can purchase them and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to read straight from the book her bio, and Austyn is the social media director of Mic Check Poetry, a really cool nonprofit organization that brings spoken word to life in the Bryan College Station, Texas community. She does not have any other serious accolades to write home about, except maybe for the time that she single-handedly rescued everyone from the inside of a burning building off an orphanage on top of a mountain surrounded by wild animals while listening to the same Macklemore song on repeat. But she is humble and swears that she had help. She's just very into foods that start with P, like pasta, pizza, and potatoes, mostly potatoes. She could not have done this without your love and support, and she is uncomfortable when speaking of herself in third person. That was probably one of the funniest bios I've ever read. I haven't read it until this moment. So now is the portion where I'm going to go through and I'm going to list off some of my favorite poems, and then I'm going to read like a sentence from them. And then some of them I'm not gonna be able to do that with because they're more like story based, and then if I read it, you just are not gonna have the full effect of it, and I'd rather you just read the poem in its entirety by purchasing the book because it's better that way. And this book was not expensive. I got it, I believe, for $10, but I will have a link down there where you can purchase it. So the very first poem in this collection, it was so good. I get excited when I can't think of words, and then my vocabulary dwindles to that of a 5-year-old. Very good, good. I'm just gonna read a little bit from it. It is called Ballroom. Let's watercolor ourselves all over each other's palms and lick them clean. Wait, I think you've got some violin on you. Let me wipe it off. Let me symphony you spotless. I'll love poem you across the dance floor until you don't have enough breath to read yourself right. I am so in metaphor with you, I can't slow down. I just bought like 20 pins. I'll tall tale us new tongues and hang them from the ceiling. Tall and tasteful and turning. Way up there next to the confetti paper stars the dance committee got from the 99-cent store. And that's all I'm gonna read from that, but you kind of get the drift of it all, and it's, what's the word for it? It's done through synesthetics, I believe is the correct terminology. Synesthetics is just like tasting sharp cheddar cheese. Like, you could describe it as tasting sharp, but it doesn't physically poke you. It's not sharp in that way. So that's kind of like an idea of what synesthetics is. The next poem I'm going to talk about is Old Hymns. This is one of those that is more of a story. Not to say that the rest of them aren't, but you know my drift. It's a little bit longer, and so you just don't get the full effect because there's so many like references from the beginning of the poem. So I'm not going to pick anything from that, but I'm going to move on to the next poem. This poem, I'm going to tell you a short story here. I was at university, I was reading this before class in a little cafe shop thing, and it made me start to tear up, and then I texted it to my friend and I was like, read this with me so you can understand the feeling that I'm just overwhelmed by, I guess is the word. It is called Except from an Email to Steve Galbraith. That's how I think it said, but I'm probably wrong. After this little intro, because it kind of sets the idea and tone for the rest of the poem. I'm glad you're doing well and sad that sometimes you aren't. I'm actually taking a minuscule break myself, I think a week tops. And I have made some small realizations in the short time that I've been gone so far, and maybe they might comfort you like they have comforted me. And then she goes through and she talks about a couple different things, and I'm just gonna pick at like one or two small things in this that I like for the sake of time. I think cemeteries on hills are beautiful because they put you closer to God. Nature is full of faces, and sometimes you recognize them. And I think that is proof that you've been alive for a very long time. I love the idea of fate and past lives, and I think it's incredibly realistic, actually. And I love when things like that are referenced in such an eloquent way, too. I have a furry visitor. Yeah? I really need to finish reading the rest of this, but cute comes first. I'm sorry. You're lucky, she's easily distracted. And then at the very end of the poem, this is what the thing that brought me to tears was. Those things I hope to think of often because I'm even feeling okay now as I type this, and I hope you are feeling okay too. Like really okay very soon. This is one of those that you definitely have to read the whole poem to get the full effect too, but it brought me to tears. In public nonetheless. I've only cried in public over a poem like 3 times, which really isn't that many when you know me. I'm a bit of a crier. This poem is the first poem that I heard Austyn slam. It was the first time I went to Read About Now Poetry, and it gave me chills, full body chills, and I thought, oh my god, this poetry thing is pretty freaking awesome. And it's called The Family That Drinks Together. This is definitely a story. It's not going to have the same effect if I read it for you, but I'm going to pick a line or two for the sake of it. It's beautiful, and I have the slam listed down there in the description, so you should watch it. We were born in car crashes, and I have grown up expecting them to come back for us. Mine arrived in the form of my mother, drowning herself with mouthfuls of wine and Xanax, and good God, it's hideous. It reminds me of my reflection when I look in the rearview mirror of my grandfather's truck. Can't see nothing right when it's all covered in that drunk driving. Kinda looks like my brother's ring drunk. Like the face of our mother being proud of how fast he can drink himself into an oil spill without making a terrible mess. And I could go on, but I'm not, because I want you to watch the whole poem. It's incredibly moving, and I got chills just now reading it. A poem that I have to mention, but I can't read from it just because it's too long and I'm not going to touch it. There's not even a line I'm going to take from it. I want you to read it all yourself. And it is called Port Blue. Living Jokes, Dead Language. Another one is I did a lot of waiting and I did it to be happy. Gardner is the last one. Maybe I ate too many anthills when I was a kid and forgot to spit them out. I know for a fact those grow to be cathedrals in your lungs, right where your breath is supposed to sit. At some point we ignore them until they are begging for us to tear them down. Like existing just stops being important when our lives lose what makes them matter. But how can we tell if we lost when it just grows different names on our tongues, where the ants build their palaces? This time it tastes like forests and sounds like forgive, if you whisper it gently enough. Tastes like a hand grenade when he says, I've spent my whole life trying not to make too much noise, so everything I say just sounds like sorry. The next and the last poem that I'm going to talk about is How I Am Learning. This does belong to something. Because the truth is, I'm still learning how to be a person without wishing I wasn't. That is hands down my favorite line of that poem. So that is it for today, and if you guys enjoyed this, please give this video a thumbs up. So be sure to follow me at Bookwormstalk on virtually every form of social media, as well as Read About Now. I will have everything listed on the screen that you will see next, and I will see you guys later. Until next time. Bye.
So he's been splitting open for a while now, leaking that slick mess onto all the pretty he built, turning our family into a collection of burning throats.